Hey, this is Molly Rennick from Living Dead Girl, and you are listening to Interview Under Fire.
All right, everyone out there, welcome once again to a brand new edition of Interview Under Fire. This is your host, Sunny, this time along with the talented Molly Rennick. Thank you so much for joining our IUF series today. Now, Molly, like I said earlier, this is an exciting time of the year for you and the rest of the guys over at Living Dead Girl with the release of your debut studio album, Exorcism, drops June 11th. Now, first things first, I'm going to commend you guys and all the well-deserved reactions it's been getting so far, especially with those singles Escape, Alive, and the title track Exorcism. Shout out to the other publications like Revolver and Outburn who've praised your work so far. And I think you're getting local airplay in the radio stations around there too, right? Like near Toronto. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and there's just plenty of awesome things to unravel about this album. But before we get to all that and beyond, I know we talked about it before the interview started. I'm going to ask a very simple question to start things off. It's maybe a tough one considering what's been happening in our lives as of late. How are you? I think that's that was like, kind of like in our DNA to ask something like that back in the day. But now it's like, it's really important. How are you, Molly? How's life in Toronto right now?
I am holding on. I'll say that. It's such an emotional mix right now because it's like sometimes I wake up in the morning and I'm like, what's the point? Like I can't even leave my house. Like this is so depressing. Like everything sucks. And then I'm like, my debut album's coming out soon. So it's like I'm super excited and happy. And at the same time, I'm like, this is rock bottom. This is it. I'm feeling like such an extreme amount of highs and lows at the same time. And I'm just trying to stay really positive and staying focused on the exciting things and not trying to let the lockdown stuff ruin the excitement for me.
Yeah. What about your vocals? How are you keeping up your vocals these days? Because life as of late, many of us have also been away from, we've been away from the stage a lot, fans and musicians alike, has anything, I don't know, changed for you routine wise lately, if at all?
I'm actually still practicing a lot at home. Like, as you can see behind me, I have a music room in my house. So I have the ability to record at home. So I've been recording some covers. I haven't in the past like month or two though, because I've been kind of busier, but I've still been like recording covers. We've still had band practices just to keep on our game and make sure we still sound really tight and don't forget how to play our own music. So we're still having band practice, still recording. I'm just trying to like have a routine of it. I'm like trying to make sure I'm like, make time for singing, make time for practicing, make time for this and this and that and everything. It's really hard to, but I'm trying to keep it in my day-to-day routine in one way or another.
I remember when the pandemic first hit, I don't know if it was the same way for you, like the first 2 months, I remember I was thinking to myself, wow, I can actually catch up on all the stuff that I didn't work on, because I was home. And then after, the third month went by and the fourth month, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I can't keep doing this. I have to find a way to be productive, especially, with people like us in this industry. It's challenging considering we're not meant to be stuck at home. We're meant to go out there and just experience, everything else in between. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Did you feel the same way? Like, it's like you got to catch up on a lot of things. And then now what?
Yeah. The first month I was like exercising, baking, painting, walking my dog like 4 times.
I was baking too. I never baked. I baked cookies for crying out loud. I never done that before in my life. And I did it.
Yeah. I was just like, all right, time to make like my 10th loaf of banana bread because I have nothing else to do. And then so I bought recording equipment and everything just to I bought like my microphone and everything during the lockdown because it's like, well, I've got this time now. I might as well start making YouTube covers since I'm just sitting at home. But I was only off work total for like 3 weeks and then I went back to working full time. So I didn't have that much downtime, but since I'm traveling now, I do have a bit more time.
Now, something I do want to do is, I want to wind the clock back just a little bit, maybe to several years back to 2017, kind of where it all started. And because for listeners and fans who may not know, Molly, you technically have been working on this record for 4 years to the point where I remember reading something like you kept scrapping entire EPs over that time span. If you could just briefly shed some more light about that moment in your life that led to the forming of the official Living Dead Girl lineup with you, John, Jordan, and Ryan, into what you guys are today. I mean, does it feel like everything also went by in a blink at the same time?
It does, but at the same time, I feel like I've been doing it forever since I started the band when I was like 15 years old and I'm now 22. and we haven't
Oh,
even put out
wow.
an album until now. So it's like, that's a long time to have not released an album. And it's just so weird to me because I've now actually been sitting on the album for a while. Like I recorded the first 3 songs in 2019 and then the rest of it in early 2020. So it's like, I've been listening to the music and it's been done for a long time, but having not released it yet feels really weird. Like I feel like it has been a long time. Like
Yeah.
I've been writing and recording and now just like sitting on the music for so long. Like I feel like mentally I'm already writing our third album. Like I'm already past the first one. But there was, yeah, it was a journey. We had so many different member changes just because we live in like a small town about an hour from Toronto. It's really hard to find musicians because a lot of the time people that we could find are people that just want to like play music just for fun.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong with that, of course, but like I was very, very driven, like, okay, no, we're gonna tour, we're gonna make albums, we're gonna like this is gonna be our job kind of thing. So it took me a long time to find the right group of people. And then after that, once I had the right group of people, it's like, okay, now what? Like I didn't know what to do. We didn't have a label, we didn't have anything. I mean, I say didn't in past term. I mean, we still don't. We're still independent. But I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to start. So I was recording things with like local producers and everything. And like that was all great experience, obviously, like being in a studio and learning how to record and everything. Like that experience is so valuable. It's priceless. But once we like went to record our album with Mitchell Marlow in Los Angeles, it was like,
Right.
okay, like, this time it's for real. The other times was building experience and getting the practice. And I'm like, but this time it's real. This time it's happening.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about Mitchell in a few minutes here. And but I wonder if there's like that comfort level that you had getting the band members in. Like, did you guys have the same influences, like as far as the music you grew up with? As far as like finding the members. I'm sure it was a difficult process. Was it an easy process? Like, how did you know that? Okay, you're gonna do this. You're gonna do this. Like, we were a unit now. This is what we're gonna do.
I guess like all comes down to when we're all in a room together and like what we're talking about, what we're doing. And I don't want to sound bossy, but I mean like who follows my directions well.
That's
um
okay.
yeah, like who actually like listens and wants to work together. And like you can just tell once you have the right group of people. Like we like the current group, like me, Jordan, John, and Ryan. It's like when we're all working together, it's just like this feels right. Like we all get along, we're all
Yeah.
friends. When we're filming music videos together for like a 12-hour day, like there's like no bickering or tension. I think it's just like you have the right group of people just based off like the vibes of the room. You know what I mean? Like there were so many times where I had a band practice and I was like, okay, this person is driving me insane, but I need a guitarist. So I guess I'll just put up with it for a bit. But like, yeah, once we all clicked, I just like knew I was like, all right, this is like my squad now.
Yeah, I think it's important to have. I don't know. I don't want to say. Well, I think it's important to have that struggle. Sometimes you kind of get opens up your perspective a little bit more on how you want to approach things, especially when it comes to
Yeah.
writing music. Now, you have been at this. I mean, I say 2017, but I know you've been at this longer since that. You're talking about
Yeah.
starting up when you're 15, but I also want to ask, how was the touring life, the live music experience for you personally? As a fan, as an artist, and you've done some touring. I know you have done that, and we're all kind of just itching to get back out there. And at the same time, we've all been forced to take an unexpected step back. And does it make you, Molly, have an appreciation, like a growing appreciation of the touring life? Because we can talk about how amazing the food is when you're on the road, the culture, the fans, so many things to pick apart about what makes touring amazing. Like, what was your biggest takeaway from it? Now that we're over a year removed from that experience, pretty much.
We've never actually done like a big tour yet. We were planning on our
Yeah.
first one in 2020, and of course that was ruined. But we've just done like little runs around Ontario and around like the GTA and everything, like the Toronto area. But honestly, like I miss it so much. Like I'm just thinking like you're exhausted, your neck hurts, all you've eaten for 3 days straight is pizza, and your throat's like tired and everything. And I'm like, it sounds bad on paper, but like when you love doing it so much, it's like the best thing in the world. Like even after like something like our music video shoots and stuff, I'm like, I feel like I broke my neck. I'm exhausted. I had way too much coffee. I feel like I'm dying. And I'm like, but I wouldn't trade this for the world. This is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, like little things start to really stand out as you recall that experience. I remember, I mean, I don't know what was it like for you, but I was at a show, if not every day, every week
Oh
before
yeah.
the shutdowns
I went
happened.
to a lot of shows.
And of course now I can't believe it. I shouldn't be used to this. Like we shouldn't be used to this, like we need
No.
to get out there and be in that atmosphere. And a very common subject on Interview Under Fire that we've been talking about for the last year, and maybe we'll be talking about it for a long time, is you've seen it and you've done it live streaming. A lot of the bands, what they do on stage, they're taking it to the screen like we're doing right now. Obviously these interviews will be in person, but we've had bands on the show like August Burns Red and Lamb of God, like a handful of them. They talked about their experience on Korn did one last week actually. And they talked about their experience on selling virtual tickets to the fans, right? And they would stream a show or pre-record a show, however it would be convenient for the concert attender, so to speak. But you're talking about your touring experience, Molly. You're talking about the artists that you met, collaborated with, the venues you played at, however many that may be. I wanted to get your take on this because I don't think there's no wrong answer to this. Do you think that the rise of the quarantine-induced live streaming we're seeing right now from all these artists, I mean, is that going to affect the touring musician business going forward through your perspective? Like, has it already been affected? Like, do you still see bands doing something like this even after all this is over? Hopefully soon.
I kind of hope it's not something that sticks personally. I don't love it. The only one that I actually bought tickets and watched was Avril Lavigne's, and it was the most disappointing thing I've ever paid for. And that's coming as like a diehard hardcore Avril Lavigne fan. I think she only played 4 songs and the rest was like commercials. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I've seen bands that I love doing them and I want to support them and I want to watch it, but either I'm usually like busy that day or something else is going on. Like, I always usually have like a reason why I don't tune in, but like also deep down, like I don't feel excited about it. Like when I see it, like when I see like them advertising them, I don't have any reaction to it. Whereas when I see like a tour announcement, like a real concert announcement, I don't care if it's a 10-hour drive away. I don't even know how I'm getting there. I just buy tickets and I'll figure out the rest later. Like, I love concerts. There's so many of them. Like I said, I've driven like 10 hours to go see bands I like before. I've flown to like New York City from Toronto, go see Motionless in White. And then I drove down to Pennsylvania to see them the next night and stuff. Like, I love shows, love live music. But the things I love about live music include being there in person, like the energy in the crowd and like the whole experience. So I don't know, like personally, just my own opinion, whenever I see people advertising live stream shows, like if anything, I think it's kind of sad and depressing. Like, I don't know. I want to support bands. I want to watch them and stuff, but I hope it's not something that sticks because it just feels really empty to me.
Yeah, I've had so many talented artists like yourself tell me that, yeah, I would love to do live streaming. It still gives me a chance to engage with my fans. And, there's some artists who say, I'm not doing anything until this is over. And, there's that really cool idea of moshing in your own room, right? But how much can you do it for? Like you do the live streaming, right? But then there's that creative barrier. Like, okay, now what? Like, how do we top this? Like, with a live show or an actual live show, you can top it. You can just add, fire. You can add whatever it is, like so many different props on a stage where, but yeah, you pointed out perfectly. You know what I did last summer? I don't know if you've seen this. Metallica did that live streaming for one weekend here in the States. Yeah. So Dallas sold out completely. Luckily, a friend of mine had a ticket to the show. He's like, hey, you want to go see Metallica? Keep in mind, this is my first ever live experience with Metallica. If you were to tell me like I would see Metallica for the first time during a pandemic, I would think you're outside your mind. You can't make this stuff up. But anyway, I get there and it was great. It was a nice turnout. Like it felt like a show. You get there, you park and you see all these people. And this was like middle of August. I mean, I don't think we even had the vaccine at that time, but then you get there and then you're in your car and then 3 Days Grace open. And what's the most popular thing we hear at a metal show, right? Let me see those horns. And you see just like a sea of horns in the crowd and you feel that adrenaline rush. You feel those goosebumps. Instead, what do we get? They said, hey, let me hear you guys honk your horns. So if you roll your window down, you just hear cars honking in silence just in the middle of the night. It felt so the point I'm trying to make is that you said it perfectly. It made me miss that live experience even more. It felt, it was cool to be there, but I felt sad. I was like, man, it's not the same, dude. It's just not the same. I'm telling my buddy right here.
Fill the void.
Yeah,
and like concerts too is like whenever I'm going to attend a concert, it's like I will spend the whole day like doing my makeup, picking outfits, picking like cool heels to wear and stuff. And then like when I was watching like the Avril Lavigne live stream, I was like in my pajamas with like a glass of wine in bed with my cats, and I was like, this is not a night out. It's not the same thing.
Oh man, yeah, I can totally relate to that 100%. And you talked about your cats. Something I want to transition to is you did that festive virtual live acoustic performance back in December. I think that was the
Yeah.
last one you did, right?
Yeah. Only one we did.
I mean, how was that? I think it was. I also think it was really cool that the proceeds went to like local animal shelters. And I know I think your family has rescued like 5 cats and 1 dog. Maybe it's been updated since then, but you know,
Yeah,
how important is something like that to you? Like knowing that you get a chance to do something helpful like that, especially during a pandemic. And as an animal lover myself, I think we can totally relate to that.
I love
Yeah.
doing that. We played a real show like 2 weeks before the pandemic started last March for my birthday, where we
Yeah.
raised $2,200 for our local animal shelter.
That's
So
awesome.
that
Yeah.
was awesome. I loved doing that. And then when Christmas time came, like every year for my birthday, I always do a fundraiser for the animal shelter. And then last year during Christmas, I thought like the same thing. I was like, I just feel generous right now. Like it's Christmas time. Like this is something that makes me happy. It's something I care about doing.
Mhm.
Like it's something that actually makes me feel really like fulfilled. It's like I love helping animal shelters because since I can't adopt every single one myself, unfortunately, I feel like the next
Love
best thing you
to.
can do is give them money. It's like I'd love to have 40 cats, but I can't. So it's like the next best thing is I can give you some money to help with the vet bills and the food and everything. But so yeah, last year at Christmas time, I was just thinking like I just want to do something nice. I want to do something that'll feel good. And so we were just like brainstorming a bit, like, okay, what can we do here? So we had the idea to do a virtual Christmas show. It was kind of hard though, because you're like, I feel like most metal people hate Christmas music. I personally love it.
I love it. What are you talking about? I love it. I'm on a million.
Okay,
Okay, we're 2 out of a million people, so we can attest to that at least.
yeah, like a lot of people, it's the same. It's the kind of thing though. People either like when you say do you like Christmas music, they either go, oh my god, I love it, or no, I can't stand it, I hate it. So I was like, if we do a Christmas show, like I was like, we'll do some Living Dead Girl songs, some Christmas songs. We like mix the two together.
Yeah.
But it was really actually difficult to do because it was just John and myself. So it was like one guitar and 2 vocals, or 2 vocalists, sorry. And it was really hard to do because our music does not translate well to acoustic. Like maybe if you had like 2 acoustic guitars and an acoustic bass and like drums and everything, it could be easier. But like when we were trying to pick the set list, like John was just like screwing around on the guitar, like trying to do the riffs and stuff. And it's like, that doesn't sound right. Like trying to strip the songs down, it didn't like only certain songs worked well. So we just did like it was a very short set. Like I think we only played like 5 or 6 songs or something, and we only charged like $10 for it and gave it all to the charity and stuff. And then we did like merch giveaways and things like that. But yeah, I don't know if we would ever do an acoustic set again after that, to be completely honest. It was very different.
You remember what I said earlier about trying to be creative when it came to like doing the live performance? That's outside the box. I love that you did that. You were able to make something great out of something great. It's not not the situation we asked for, staying at home and watching live shows, but I think you guys really knocked it out of the park. I'm not saying don't completely get away from the acoustic part, because I think you guys do have something there. I think you have to have that first show first and then maybe do something.
Like if we had like the acoustic, like maybe 2 acoustic guitars and the acoustic bass and maybe some drums, like we could do like a more stripped down version. But like just one guitar, like it was not the same thing at all.
That's definitely something to maybe think about in the near future. Now, speaking of the near future, let's talk about that debut album, Exorcism. I know we talked about everything from head to toe. Let's talk about the new album. Comes out June 11th. June 11th, right? Is that still the set date for it? Okay. Now, if I may, Molly, let me just do a quick review, because ever since you sent me that new music, that's all I've been listening to from start to finish. You were, I mean, I heard elements of, rock, metal, industrial, goth, pop, and punk. You kind of checked up this mental list in my head, like pretty much everything I grew up with, like check. It was all over the place. And you said also that this album, like kind of exemplifies your personality. Like I'm gonna quote you here. What does it say? One wears baby pink and Hello Kitty and listens to pop music, and the other a goth girl in fishnet stockings who listens to dark heavy metal. I love another example is a combination of Marilyn Manson and Avril Lavigne. I know how much you love Avril Lavigne, and I mean there you have it. Like those examples right there. From songs like Alive and Give Up to Poltergeist, which is my personal favorite, to Escape to Worship Me. I mean, you had straight up, anthemic headbangers, you had, choruses, you had melodies. I mean, as far as vocals, you went above and beyond with this, and it also reminded me of Maria Brink of In This Moment. I don't think we have enough of that vocal sounding, and as far as like female in this music at all. And I'm glad you did that. I really love that it took me back to bands like In This Moment, because I listened In This Moment way back, like 05, 04, before that. if you're going to put out a debut record, I feel like you've accomplished that with this execution here. Anyway, I'll let you talk here now because I feel like I'll just keep going and going. But walk me through this, Molly. Considering that this process kind of lasted over a few years, how much did things change from when you first started, composing on Exorcism, to where you ended up finishing it? Was there already a specific sound you knew you had in mind with Exorcism?
I honestly didn't know what I wanted until I worked with Mitch. Like, I kind of knew, like, vaguely, like, generally what I wanted. Like, I had an idea, but I hadn't nailed it on the head yet. So I worked with a few different producers. I wrote with a few different people, and there was nothing wrong with any of the music that we made, like the several EPs worth that I scrapped. There was nothing wrong with any of it. Like,
do you still have those? Do you still have those EPs?
I do, but my vocals have changed a lot. And I found the original version of Exorcism that was recorded like 4 years ago. I found it in my Dropbox the other day, and I showed it to my current band members because Ryan wasn't around with us at that time. I showed it to him, and he just like looked at me and was like, "What?" And I'm like they're not even the same song. But like my vocals changed a lot. Like my screams are pretty much the same, but my clean vocal style changed a lot. But like at first, our music was way heavier than it is now. Like it was more kind of like metalcore. It was more screaming than singing. There was barely any singing, actually. It was mostly screaming. And I wanted to get away from that because I love screaming. I love heavy music. Don't get me wrong in any of that. But I was just finding our music wasn't fun enough. Like I was like, this isn't fun to perform. It's not fun to sing along to. I was like, there's just something in the energy that's missing here. Like every single song I wrote, I was like, there's something missing. And I didn't know what it was, but I just wasn't feeling any of it. So then when I went to work with Mitch and like he was asking, who are your influences? What do you want it to sound like and stuff? And I was just like, honestly, I want to be Avril Lavigne, but heavy metal. And I was like, I know that sounds weird.
That's a good explanation.
Yeah, I was like, it sounds weird. Like when you hear that, it's like, what does that even mean? And then I was like explaining to him, like for the song Exorcism, I was like, I want it super heavy, like a really awesome riff, but I want there to be cheerleader vocals in it. And I remember I had told that to a few other people before I worked with Mitch. I kept saying, I want it to be heavy, but then with like cheerleader chants and stuff. And I remember anytime I said something like that, people would just like look at me confused, like, what? Like, when you just throw ideas out there like that, it sounds weird. Like I'm admitting that. Like it sounded like I didn't know what I wanted. But like once Mitch and I started like actually putting it together and it started coming to life, I was like after like we'd done like one song, I was like, okay, this is it. Like that's how it's supposed to sound. I was like, it needs to be, I don't like to use the word poppy because I know that's off-putting to some metal people, but like, let's be honest, pop music, when well written, is excellent. Like that's why it gets stuck in your head.
I even mentioned pop because I'm not afraid to admit it. I grew up listening to those specific genres and I love what you did with this. It was all over the place. Anyway, go ahead.
I hate using the word pop when I'm talking about metal, just because I know a lot of like more of like the old school metalheads, like it's like a dirty word. It's like a bad word, but it's like, but like well-produced pop music is like what's catchy and what gets in your head and stuff. So I was saying like to Mitch, I was like, the choruses need to be pop. Like they need to be catchy, great melody lines, big vocals, like chanting and all of that stuff. And then I was like, and then the verses need to be heavy. Like, yeah, I don't know how to describe it other than all over the place, but it's like, I listen to like Avril Lavigne, Pink, like if I'm in the right mood, like Britney Spears, like that kind of stuff. And then I was like, but in other moods, I listen to like Motionless in White, like Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie, Nine Inch Nails kind of thing. And I was like, I was having a tough time trying to choose between the two. I was like, I don't want to be a pop singer. Like that's not me. And I was like, but I don't want to just scream all the time because that's not fun. Like when we're playing shows and stuff, I'm like, I want to be able to like dance around. I want people to be able to sing along to it. So I just really needed to bring the two worlds together. And I feel like no one could nail that better than Mitch did.
Yeah, and with this album, and I'm glad you talked about Mitch. For people who don't know, Mitch Marlow, he's known for his work with also Papa Roach and In This Moment, All That Remains, and that list goes on. With Exorcism, it sounded so dynamic and sounded so polished. I'm kind of an audiophile these days. Like I'm very picky on how I want my music to sound, the way I want to listen to it,
I am too, yeah.
And between you and John, Ryan, and Jordan, I heard everything, by the way, like all the instruments. I mean, your vocals were perfect, on par. I'm sure there was a sense of comfortability in the studio for you, knowing that you had Mitch Marlow working on that with you. And you work with Howie Weinberg, or was he just on the Alive music video that he mastered? Because I know he was also involved in this as well.
He mastered the entire album for us.
Oh yeah, perfect. I mean, I'm sure. Yeah. So revert back to my question. It was a sense of comfortability for you knowing that you had Mitch and Howie working on Exorcism with you, right?
Yeah, like I knew I was in good hands. Like I went there just like knowing whatever this music comes out to sound like, I know it's going to be amazing just because of who I'm working with.
Yeah, and between writing and structuring the songs and the production process, like just talked about, something that came to me and I was really excited to talk about this: the lyricism throughout Exorcism. I began to think if there was a reason why you chose certain songs as singles before the release, like if there was a theme to this, because you have a song like Alive, which the music video just dropped recently, which is amazing, and it's about controlling life rather than letting life control you. Then you have a song like the title track, Exorcism, which is about being in a relationship where you discover new parts of yourself and let all your evil, so to speak, come out. And then you have a song like Escape, about leaving behind a place that was holding you back, especially at a time like now. Like those three songs, it very much resonates with where we're at. So how important are themes to you, Molly? And to what level do you like to have a theme for your music, if there was a theme to this at all?
I think it is really important. Like before I even start writing a song, I start like brainstorming, like, okay, what is my message? Like at the end of the song, what do I want to convey? What am I trying to express? Every single thing that I write is always personal. I'm not really the kind of person that just comes up with like a hypothetical situation and then writes about it. Like there's obviously no right or wrong way to write a song. And I know a lot of people do it that way. Like that's fine, obviously. But for myself personally, it always has to be something that I relate to, because like you're not gonna hear the same amount of emotion and energy and everything in my vocals if I'm like, I could never sing music that I didn't write personally. Like if someone else wrote my lyrics for me, you'd be able to tell in my vocal performance that I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
Like I can only really like passionately perform if it's something that like I'm really feeling. So I always make sure my songs are like something that like hits close to home for me. So like with all three singles, and like Alive, Exorcism, and Escape, all three of them are like a life story of mine.
Yeah. Because that's great, because I wonder if that theme is more about helping you write or sound, or is that more for the audience? Because a lot of artists, they don't really care about themes, like you said. They just do 10 songs in the studio and that's it. But so you do come up with a theme beforehand, right? Or is it more like a go with the flow attitude, or maybe just a bit of both?
I come up with it beforehand usually.
Yeah.
Like I think of a specific situation and I'm like, okay, what happened? How did it make me feel? And what was the outcome? Like kind of thing. Like it's kind of like when I write a song, I feel like I'm like writing a story.
Yeah. Would it also be safe to say that you see Exorcism as a snapshot of where you are in a certain time in your life looking back?
Yeah, I feel like once I came up with the concept of exorcism, like once I thought of using like the word exorcism, like once I thought of using it like as a metaphor, I thought like honestly this whole album could be called that. I was like, the whole idea of like, obviously like in horror movies, like what an exorcism is, like it's like a priest getting like demons out of a person. I was like, that's a cool metaphor to use, like whether it's music or a relationship or art or like whatever it is that like you're doing, like the thought of like letting your demons out. I just thought that was such a cool concept. Like once I came up with it, I became like obsessed with the idea of it. And I was like, I feel like that represents the entire album and represents us as like an artist and everything. So I felt like it was just really fitting for the entire collection of songs to be called Exorcism.
From the different experiences and perspectives in your timeline that you have taken in and which we've discussed about so far, and whether it's performing for as long as you have and the people you have met and worked with during this one hell of a debut album, pun intended. And it sounds like you still have much left to put out there, with Living Dead Girl's artistic vision and yours. This is definitely something that you have a passion for. And I feel like you've experienced plenty already. Have your aspirations as a person, Molly, or even as a musician, have they changed or evolved since when you first started putting your foot in the door in this insane industry? Like, do you see things differently today?
Oh yeah, I've definitely gained a lot of experience over the past few years and really matured a lot since obviously I started like working on music when I was like 15 and now I'm 22. Like a lot has changed in that time period. But now more than anything with music, like all I want to do is just like express myself, and I love when people relate to it. Like the most important thing for me is like letting all my thoughts and feelings out and getting like the energy back from the audience. Like when people message me like, oh my God, your new single Escape is exactly how I feel right now. I relate so much and stuff like that is like jackpot for me. Like that is gold to me. Is people telling me like I relate, I feel the same way. This song is important to me. It means a lot to me. Like I'm just like an overly sappy, emotional person. I don't know if that's because I'm a Pisces or what, but apparently it is.
That's totally okay.
But like I love using like art for that. Like so I love like both giving it and getting it back.
Yeah, I think it's also sometimes it's important to kind of just push everything like back and just look at it from the outside, because the more successful you are, you kind of lose track of yourself. I don't know if I'm speaking for a lot of people here, but you know, I sense that too myself. Like the more successful you are, you kind of just, you got to remember why you do what you do, and before you you know, go back in and look at yourself first, and then I don't know, am I making sense at all?
No, you are. You're good.
You know, and another thing is, you know, as you were talking about everything you've been through, you know, being young and being a woman in a genre where the male entity is still dominant in the hard rock and heavy metal genre. And of course, we are seeing more and more, you know, younger female musicians, you know, coming to the forefront, which is, I love that. You know, what advice would you have for someone wanting to follow in that direction, or even your direction?
Like for like female artists specifically?
Yeah.
Honestly, being a female artist is very difficult. Like you said, it is a very male dominated industry. But I think as long as you're really confident and you know your worth and you don't let anyone take advantage of any of that or try to change or anything, and like as long as you stay really headstrong and really driven, it's actually not that bad. Like I found at first, like I would get the, oh, we already have a girl, or oh, we're not looking for a girl, or oh yeah, but well, is the singer a girl? Like we kind of had that when we first started, but I'm finding now as we've become even like a little bit more established than we were back then or whatever, like like we don't really get that as much. Like if you stay really true to what you're doing and you're nailing it and you're killing it and stuff, like you kind of lose that stigma, if that makes sense. I remember people would, like I remember we played, our very first show ever was a 90s night at a local bar. They were picking different local bands to channel a 90s band and just cover them. So our entire set was Marilyn Manson. So when we were asked to do that, I remember at the time, the guy who was running it said, he proposed to the bar, okay, so one of the artists from the 90s we're going to do is Marilyn Manson. And there's this female fronted band that, and like he said, like the guy was like, no, like female fronted, but it's Marilyn Manson. Like, how is a girl going to sing like that? And he was like, no, she can sing like that. Like, just give it a chance and stuff. And then I remember after the show, people saying like, okay, I did not expect you to be able to sing like that just because you're a girl. Things like that. Like there's a lot of, when you're new and people haven't heard you yet and you haven't proven yourself, you kind of do get looked down on. I find as a female artist, like people are like, well, how good's it going to be? Like it's a girl screaming, like it's not going to be as good as a guy screaming. Like you get a lot of that at first, but once you've like really proven yourself and stuff, that kind of simmers down. Like now I have people who like comment on my video stuff like, okay, this is a girl screaming and she sounds more intimidating than most men I know. Like this is like, you just really have to don't get discouraged, like stay really driven and really prove yourself more, I find, as a female artist.
And for the record, you are a beast on this album. And I don't even know if that even justifies how you sound, because I really hope you keep continuing to do what you do, because you're knocking it out of the park. And I mean, I've listened to bands like, I mean, Cannibal Corpse. They've been doing it for years, obviously, but man, you're up there. I'm being very biased here, but I've listened to a lot of music in my time, and I really like what you're doing with this. It's a great direction you're going in. Also something that comes to mind, you know, if you weren't a musician, does that ever cross your mind? What would you be doing right now instead?
I have thought of that before. I've kind of wondered, I'm like, in another life, like what would I be doing? And it's kind of a weird, scary thought, because it's like, whoa, music, like this is my entire life. Like if I didn't have this, like I wouldn't have a life. But I think if I wasn't a musician, I think I'd probably work with animals in one way or another. Like I love watching this, like there's like this documentary on Disney Plus about like the zookeepers at the Animal Kingdom Park and Disney World stuff, and I'm like, I feel like in another life I could be doing that. Like
I think I've seen that. Actually, I have Disney Plus. I think I have seen that.
Like, I don't know about being like a vet because I don't like medical stuff, but like when I'm watching like the zookeepers and like the people that work at the sanctuaries with them and stuff, I'm like, I feel like I could be doing that. Also maybe working in like marketing or publishing or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's a weird thought, because it's like my entire life revolves around music. So to think of like that not being there is just like kind of scary.
I mean, yeah, I like asking that question because I come from a musical background. You know, I started off engineering, for crying out loud. And then both of my brothers are drummers. My mom's a professional singer, and, you know, And
Oh wow, very, yeah, very musical family.
yeah, so I grew up playing bass and violin, and then I was just like, it was kind of hobby. But then it's kind of like you knew like it's like it was meant to be. You found a way to get back into what got you, what is it, started in the first place. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
it's a really interesting thing because it really expands someone like you. Like you get to see like what else, helps you put your creativity in your music, like, outside of music. So I think that's always interesting.
Yeah.
Molly, this has been such an honor. I can't believe it's already been like 40 minutes, but a really cool
Oh,
thing I like to do. A really cool thing I like to do. I like asking this question at the end to finish things off. It's kind of a fun question, but since we're kind of briefly touched on, I don't know, like movies and cinematic, like horror stuff. Sometimes I ask my artists, like, what are your 5 favorite albums? But what are your 5 favorite movies that you can think of at the top of your head? Maybe do you have one? Or do you have any that you're watching right now that's just you can put out there?
All-time favorite movie is The Little Mermaid.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. I love that.
Like I watch it like religiously. I watched it while I was doing my makeup for this interview, actually.
I love how you didn't even hesitate. You just immediately just said Little Mermaid.
Yeah, I have like one of those like little TVs that's like a little box from the 90s that has the VHS player like attached to it, or the VCR rather. It's
the cathode ray TVs that you like. Oh man.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I have them right beside my makeup table, so I sit there and watch old Disney VHSs like while I get ready.
That's awesome.
Number 1 is Little Mermaid, and I can't even think of 4 others because all I do is watch Little Mermaid.
I think that's okay. That counts.
That's my answer. I love Perks of Being a Wallflower. That movie's excellent too.
Oh, that's a great movie.
I love the Conjuring series, particularly Annabelle Creation. That movie's awesome.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I slept for a month after watching, was it the first Conjuring that came out? Yeah, it was the first one. My ex made me watch it with her, and I'm like, oh my god, why are you doing this? And it was in the dark room, like in the theater. I don't know why I can't do like horror movies like that, but then I love movies like 28 Days Later, for example, and that's a whole different, that's like a zombie movie. But anyway, go ahead. that's 3, right?
I don't really like categories. Like it really depends on mood I'm in, because my favorite thing in the world is cartoons. I'm the kind of person, like I have ADHD and a bad attention span. Like normally when I watch a live action movie, I'm the person that sits there within 5 minutes and looking at my boyfriend and I'm like, who's that? Who is that? What are they doing? Where are they going? And he's like, I know about as much about it as you do. We've been watching this for 5 minutes.
What about?
I cannot pay attention. I ask so many questions.
What about other stuff that you're watching right now currently that I don't know? You recommend?
I watch a lot of Bob's Burgers.
Oh, that's a great show. Oh my gosh.
And Dead to Me on Netflix. Dead to Me on Netflix is like my favorite show.
Oh, I just interviewed Caliban just like 2 weeks ago. Their song is actually featured in one of the episodes. Did you know that?
She goes in her car and
that was the one.
I was wondering what band that was, because I watched the whole series through twice, and I was like, that song is really good. I wonder who that is.
Yeah, that's Caliban. They're from Germany. They're releasing a new album, and actually in a week, I think. And then another new album later this year. I highly recommend them. I think that episode should go live for us like in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I spoke to them a couple of weeks ago. Great guys, absolutely great guys. They've been at this for their 25th anniversaries coming out. But anyway, yeah.
Wow.
It's very ironic you even call that out, actually. Dead to Me. That's a great show.
Yeah, that show is excellent. I love that show.
Yeah. Molly, again, this has been an honor. Do you have any, I don't know, last words, just any shout outs, anything you would like to plug in as far as Living Dead Girl or Exorcism before we finish things off here? A new music video, maybe, or maybe a live streaming? I don't know what you can and cannot say.
we just released a music video last week, but we do have another one coming out before the album release as well. So we filmed 2 videos within 2 weeks of each other. So
okay,
the live one was just the first one.
All right, and everyone who's listening, definitely, it's always nice to have things like that to look forward to. So I'm really glad. I'm really excited about this. Everyone who's listening, this is Molly Rennick from Living Dead Girl. Please, if you could do me a favor and her a favor, buy the album, because the artist can't do it without your help. It's a simple request, but it's a big one. I mean, I still buy records in the corner of the opposite corner of my room. I'm still buying records today. So I just like I'm still old fashioned that way. I still like having the hard copy with me.
Me too. I need a physical copy.
And Exorcism comes out June 11th. It releases independently. And don't forget, you can listen to this podcast and interview on any major streams out there. It'll be on YouTube as well. Check us out on interviewonfire.com. Molly, do me a favor, stick around for 30 seconds after the interview. I want to tell you something really funny. Thank you so much again, Molly. You be safe out there in Canada, and I look forward to the day for that you come to the States here in Dallas and we can talk about, hey, remember when we did that interview during the pandemic? And anyway, that's something else to look forward to. But anyway, you stay safe out there, Molly, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thank you so much.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Interview Under Fire podcast. If you guys liked what you heard, please subscribe and share our channel. And please leave a 5-star review, as that helps us tremendously. If you'd like to check out more, visit www.interviewunderfire.com or our social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And finally, we want to thank you all for the support you've been giving us. Keep it burning.